in this particular segment, we are going to be talking about how the Commonwealth Games, which was the brainchild of Clem Jones. Now, you went into Parliament in 1966? Yep. And so therefore, you were really in the thick of it when Clem was at the forefront of politics in Queensland. And Clem, as people who've listened to the playlist will know, Sir Frank Moore really credits the fact that Queensland got the Expo 88 because of the work of Bob Minikin. And Bob Minikin came out of the Commonwealth Games, and Bob Minikin gave the experience and the credentials to the World Expo 88 bid. So, Clem Jones, just tell us a few little snippets of the history of that incredible leader in civic politics in Brisbane.
Well, Clem Jones was very different. He was, for a Labor guy, he was extremely wealthy before he really was into it thick head first, and he certainly sued Brisbane, because back in those days I can remember a man used to run around with a bucket on his shoulder and all this sort of stuff, and Clem set out to sue Brisbane successfully and a number of other things, but he also had a run for state parliament in the early 1970s, and then he came at me when I was member for Griffith in 1974, which frightened the daylights out of me. But if I'm allowed to share a little bit of political history, I remember the Thursday afternoon before that federal election, I found him with a vehicle with a map of Griffith on and little speaker set, and I drove into Agnew Street, stopped up in front of him, went up to him and said, "Clem, whoever has won it by now, let's agree to give it away." And he put his hand out, we both shook hands, and we stopped campaigning at that time, and lucky for me, I defeated him a couple of days later when the results came out. But Clem was quite a remarkable being.
Yes, and politics in those days was interesting because one of your claim to fame is that you donated your speakers, which are as big as you, effectively, that used to blast, literally, the people of Griffiths with. And they were famous in Brisbane, but they are now part of the Democracy Museum down in Canberra.
Yeah, correct. They would go, well, in modern distance language, probably 1.5 kilometres, and I'd get on top of the hill and let them have it in terms of what I believed I needed to say to be re-elected.
Very interesting times in those days. And with that, we'll cut off this particular segment, and we're going to move on to another part of the Clem Jones connected narrative. Thank you again.